Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Nuance Needed podcast. Today, Sam and I are chatting with Lindsay Hall, who you may have found her or know her from this viral Substack she wrote that was called "I Stumbled Across My Boyfriend's ChatGPT and It Ended Our Relationship." I mean, Lindsay is an incredible writer, but this story is also so incredible and I think really touches on so many things that we're dealing with right now as a society. Obviously, there's the AI component, but a lot of her essay and what we talk about with her is also about modern dating and what it is like being a woman dating right now, especially someone in your mid-30s. Kind of this unequal dynamic where she felt like she was, kind of more emotionally mature or being someone who is sort of like carrying the emotional weight of the relationship. Again, you should go read the article. We have it linked. It's truly incredible. But anyway, it's a great conversation. It feels like the perfect thing to talk about on Nuance Needed. We hope you enjoy.
When I read through the article, I felt like it tackled like 4 massive issues all at the same time, which is like the current dating landscape. Even I think you can make the parallel to like the male loneliness epidemic, right? And their emotional blockage right now. I think the rise of AI in general and what AI is being used for and should it be used for that. And then also he was essentially like having therapy sessions with AI. That was really like what I gather maybe in his head he thought he was doing. And this is not me giving him credit at all. But I think just to give like, that was what I dropped into. And I think it was the least surprising thing to me that it went as viral as it did. Because I think it struck so many nerves.
I thought it might do well within my little crew of audience, and because I did think about like the male. Well, first of all, we're in such a like war between men and women right now, and I hate that. Like I don't want to be a spokesperson for that war, and but I do think I hit that cultural nerve that I didn't think about at the time, but now when I read through the 2,000 something comments, and I don't read them all anymore because it's just too much, but when I've read through a lot of them, I do see it's like there's just so much anger between men and women right now, and how we're dating, and how if you're in a hetero relationship, and like how we're dating, and how women feel men aren't honest or emotionally aware. Which I'll be honest, I was pretty there. That was some frustration. I was kind of venting because I've had a couple quotes in there that have been restacked and requoted a lot about how I was like, how women always have to kind of stand in the fire of men's lack of their emotional wherewithal. I didn't think that line would do what it did, but that's been a line that seems to have been this like catch point for a lot of women that have been kind of saying like, yeah, you hit the nail on the head in that part. But then on the opposite side, I've had all these men just like, well, they hate me. The manosphere has come for me, right. I suppose. But I've had like a lot of men, yeah. But I've had a lot of men come back and just be like, this is the problem with women. You guys expect us to know everything and just be so sure about you 3 or 4 months in. It's like, it's just, there's so much battling in the comments, and it's very interesting. It's been very interesting to see. Yeah, so I think absolutely. You're right.
We had on Dr. Audra Horney, who talked about men's mental health. She specializes in men's mental health. But even like you were saying, Sam, like he was kind of using it as a therapist, which I think is very poignant.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Audra Horney, she was incredible. And if you haven't listened to that episode yet, like I highly recommend it. Her big thing that we chatted about, and I think even because my niche is anxious millennial women, right? Like that's who I'm speaking to. That's who I know. That's who I work with, right? And so I understand that I can have professionally, I have a broad understanding of what is happening with men right now. And I think what is not happening in a lot of cases. But she was really poignant in her description of the problem, which is she said, therapy, for the most part, is marketed to women. She said the websites are incredibly feminine. The language is feminine. The goal is feminine. And she said, I'm not even saying that from the manosphere perspective of like females and like, blah. Like she goes, it's not that. But she goes, there is a difference when you are branding to a woman versus when you are branding to a man. And she said, there are a massive shortage of male therapists. She said, there's a massive shortage of women who are trained in men's issues specifically and feel that they can speak to those without bringing their own stuff into session, right? Their own preconceived beliefs and judgments and issues with patriarchy and sexism and misogyny and all of that. And she said, we're yelling at men to go get help, but they feel like they have nowhere to go to get that. And she said, what ends up happening is women, understandably so, are doing all of this work, right? We are on top of it in a way that I think many of our ancestors would be in disbelief of, with the things that we're managing and juggling and working through. And we're all stepping up to the plate. And then it just feels like for us, men are not doing that. But they don't have any of this, like, they're already harmed by being told that talking about feelings is stupid. And their friends won't do it with them. And if they try to, they get shamed by the group of friends because they're all triggered by someone else sharing like their vulnerability and what they're not doing well with. And then we're like, well, you need to go talk to somebody about this. And they're like, but I don't even have the language to know like what I'm talking about. So a lot of them are turning to the manosphere to be told, no, everything about you is good. It's the world around you that's the problem. Everybody having these expectations of you, that's the problem. But then they still go to like ChatGPT and tech because it feels distant. Mm-hmm. They convince themselves that it's like, well, this thing is a computer. It's just giving me facts. You know, the guy that you were with at the time, it ends up in that horrific AI echo chamber where it just continues to like validate you with every sentence that you share, which can very easily send you down the staircase of like, even if maybe he wasn't right at the top of the funnel, right? And maybe a therapist, like a human, anybody he was talking to could have challenged him in his thoughts and been like, well, why are you really feeling this way? Like, what are your insecurities tied to the things that you are noticing in Lindsay, right? Like that would be real work. Like, are these real concerns that you're having, or are these like preconceived notions that maybe aren't serving you anymore? And you are in something good and you're terrified of that. So how do we like sit in this? How do we include her in the conversation, right? But then when you just tell AI is like, excellent point. This problem isn't about you. This is about the fact that you're incompatible.
That's exactly what it was saying. That was essentially what it was saying back to. It wasn't saying like, it did have some empathy for me. I will say that. Like AI didn't totally, at least I can't remember all verbatim. You know what I mean? It's like all I remember is what he wrote. Right. I didn't really care what the robot was saying. ChatGPT. But yeah, exactly. I wasn't reading what Chat had to say back, but I do remember parts of it thinking to myself like, what an interesting concept. Like even in my shock, I was reading it being like, oh my God, AI is like, at least AI is defending me a little bit. Because here and there, AI would be like, it wasn't like AI was like, you're right, she's terrible. It was just, but it was just continuously going on this like path of like down. Like, well, then maybe you're not compatible for long term. And that's okay. Right. Like, which I think it was right, ultimately. Yeah. We're not together now, but I thought it was an interesting thing to see that AI was trying to be empathetic, but still pulling you further.
Because I think what we're not remembering so many times with AI is it's like, you're not conversing with a person. It's talking to you, but you're not conversing with a person. And now we're recognizing there's all of these training prompts that you have to give it, and you have to give it additional, like far more information than you think. Yeah. And it's going off of simply what you input in it. So if you're only inputting one viewpoint of something,
or you're complaining to someone about them too, right? Like they don't capture all of the nuance of someone's life, but we act like it does.
Yeah, it was like an interesting, I've been asked a couple times, like, and this was a discussion in the comments, like, would I have been as horrified or offended if I had seen this on text, or if I had seen this if this had been a conversation with a friend. And actually I said, yeah, I'd be more embarrassed because I like met some of his friends, and I was like, if I knew he was saying this heinous, like what I felt was very cruel, some of what I read was very cruel. And I was like, if I don't think I even would have tried to make it work past that, because that would have been my ego, like, and I mean, I'm not above it. My ego would have been like very embarrassed, and I don't think I would have wanted to see his friend. You know what I mean? So then it's a tough position, because it's kind of like we had both agreed that too often couples do spend too much time complaining about their partners to their friends. So then it poisons the well. So I think what ended up happening is that actually kind of blockaded him even more into feeling like he couldn't really talk to anybody, because we had both agreed, like, let's not poison the well with our families or anything like that if we have relationship issues going on. But then, you know, then it turned out that it manifested into this. And that's why we're here today.
I think like the perspective I wanted to ask from you is like, now that you've moved through what happened, right? And then now, like, having shared this story and like have this reaction, like, where do you land on it now? Like, where do your feelings like stand with it in being reflective?
I mean, there's just been so many perspectives given to me. I think that, do I regret that I read it? No, I don't, because I think far too many, this could be a broad statement, but far too many women's time is wasted by men that are unsure about them. And I am 37 years old. I want children. And I made very perfectly clear in the last 3 relationships I've been in, like, that's what I want out of this. If you don't want that, let's like move on. And so I think my feeling was like, I don't regret that I read it, because I think it sped along the process of us, what would have inevitably been a breakup anyhow. I mean, there's been men that have argued in my comments that, like, had you not read that, he probably would have worked through some of these issues himself. But I guess my counter to that will continue to be, the issues I read that he had with me were not little issues. They weren't my 3 cats in a house that I knew he didn't like. They were like, he had an issue with, like, he wasn't proud of me. Like, he didn't like I lived in a van. He didn't like I had an eating disorder. He didn't like that I wrote about it online. It embarrassed him. Like, it's like those kinds of things are not really changeable. No. Like, they're not changing components, in my opinion. So I found that argument very weird. So I guess in that sense, no, nothing's changed, other than I do think people are entitled to their privacy. I don't think it was right that I went and read it. I don't. I don't know that I felt that much remorse about it when I first wrote it. And the more perspectives I've read, the more I'm like, yeah, there's definitely, like, I definitely probably read it because I already felt that. And I think I put that in the article. There was an intuition I had that this man was going to waste my time. And I want a child. And so it's like, if you're not the right person, let's get on with it.
Right.
Well, it even sounds like that is some of like the heartbreak of this and the betrayal of this, is it's not just that he had all of these feelings about you. It was also that he was wasting your time. You were so clear about all of that. And he was probably feeling guilty about that on some level. But what came up for me too was just like, I hate Sam and I rail a lot about like all these new dating terms that are just made up stuff all the time. But like the word that is coming to my mind is like, you know, stringing someone along, breadcrumbing them, whatever you want to call. Like that is such a, you know, I think that was such a betrayal of it too.
It was, because I felt like it was selfish, and I think I still to a degree feel that way. And I don't want to bash him. I mean, he's a complicated person just like I am, but in our instance, I don't think that he's a selfish person in general. I think in our instance, I think he really wanted it to work because he wants kids and a family too. I think I checked some boxes, and he's a much more pragmatic, logical man. I just don't think I hit the nail on the head for him, and that's fine. I'm not bashing him for that. But what I am is that, again, it's this lack of emotional wherewithal that I feel like a lot of women struggle. Like, they're with men for years, and these men like don't love them, and it doesn't appear that they really delight in them. And maybe, you know, who's to say I'm the love expert? But it's just I've been in love. I felt loved, and I struggled with that this whole relationship, which I think is inevitably what led to me actually choosing to violate his privacy, because it is a violation, and read what I read. It was like I didn't think it would be as negative as it was, but I think probably there was some side of me that was like, that knew, there was something inside of me that was saying like, this isn't right.
Yeah.
Was there anything in what you read that showed him like trying to find a way to actually like work through those things? It was just all kind of identifying these problems, and
it was multiple chats that were all negative. Yeah. And I think that was one of the pieces I really could not get past. It's like, if he had been like, I think if he had weighed issues a little bit better, that it's like I said, I saw it all unvarnished. I saw it with like its tact stripped away. He would never have said those things to me. He never would have. He's not a cruel person to my face. Yeah. But in the back office of his mind, those were serious issues. And no, he was not weighing like the eating disorder thing. There was never, how can I help her if she struggles? Because I know she still struggles off and on. It was just like, will I stay attracted to her? Like, I don't know. And that was just so horrifying to read. I never thought about that, honestly. And all my years of eating disorder history and talking, I was like, oh, I've never worried about a partner, judging that.
And also, I think the cold, hard, brutal truth is attraction fades for all of us.
Correct. We all will get old, and our skin will sag, and our weight will change.
And our weight will change, and the texture of our hair will change, and the feeling of our body will change. And it's like, that's for you too, bro. Like, let's all clock this together. Like, the drumbeat of time beats for all of us. Like, and so it's interesting. Like, it's revealing to me, like, when I was reading through the article and kind of you quoting some of the things that he said. That's why earlier I brought up the idea of his insecurities, because it's like, like every fear that you have is telling you something about yourself, even more so when you're seeing it in a romantic relationship, in the person you're trying to explore a relationship with. And so for him to be like, will I stay attracted to her? It's like, will you stay attracted to anyone?
I know. And I think, and that's where my emotional maturity wasn't, where I did not handle the situation the way I would have, in my mind, thought that my maturity would have let me. Like, no. I didn't. I handled it like my ego was bruised and I felt fight or flight. I can't explain it. It's like, all I know how to explain is it felt like fight or flight, and I was no longer safe. Not physically, I didn't think he was going to hurt me, but like emotionally, after reading that, I was like, I'm not safe in this relationship. I'm not safe in this person's house. Like, I'm leaving. And I just left. And I've gotten a lot of flack for how I responded to that. And that's fair. I mean, it's not right to I just left. Like, I didn't say, I just had to leave. It was fight or flight, and I left. And so a lot of people were like, how you violated his privacy and read all that. And then you made the situation 10 times worse by leaving. And I think there's some fairness to that, because it's like, I wish I had kind of more of the maturity in the moment to like humanize him more, but instead I demonized him in the moment because I just felt so offended, and I wasn't able to look at it from that objective point of like, this is clearly not really even about me, because it was just, in that second, it was too much about me. Like, and I was just like, oof.
I mean, I think the people that are also like giving you crap about it, I'm sort of like, what is the point of that? Everyone can play Monday morning quarterback and say how they'd handle it differently or how you should have handled it differently, but I don't know. I also don't blame you, Lindsay, because I'm just like a pretty nosy person. And absolutely, if I saw that, I would read all the way down to, like, I'm sorry. I'm not saying I would go looking, but I think it is so easy for people to be like, I would never do that. And it's like, are you in a secure relationship, number one, right? You said that you already have suspicions. And number two, everyone can say that if it's never been right in front of them like that. Because I think sometimes you hope that someone's writing something like positively about you or something like that. So, yeah.
Well, and the chat title was clearly like not favorable.
What was the chat title?
It was like relationship issues and uncertainty. Yeah. And that was the title. And I was like, that doesn't seem favorable to me.
Right. It wasn't just like, so Lindsay, period.
No, it was definitely inferring that there was issues. And yeah, I do agree with you. I think it's very funny. Like I like that term, the Monday quarterback. 'Cause it's like all these people in the comments have been telling me like I would have read if I had seen that, I would have shut the laptop, woken him up and said, "Do you have anything you need to
miss
talk
me.
about?" And I'm like,
Miss
who?
me.
I know. I'm like, who is doing that?
Well,
like, please.
No one is doing that. And also, like, if we just talk about the internet, right? If you had taken the route of waking him up and talking to him about it, you would have had 700 comments of people being like, it would have been better for you to just leave and then cool down and talk to him about it later. Like, whenever a woman shares a less than perfect reaction to something, we will always get picked apart. We will
1000%.
never be able to do it right, no matter how we do it. And I also think, like the umbrella of therapy speak has created this myth that there is this place of existence that we can get to where we will react perfectly every time. And that we will be able to like emotionally navigate every situation from our highest, most self-actualized self. And it is the biggest crock of bullshit I've ever heard in my life, because you do react from the place of your nervous system when you feel triggered to that magnitude. Like, if anything, I actually find you just leaving and excusing yourself and giving yourself a second to be like, what am I even experiencing right now? That was what you needed. In that moment of your whole life being flipped upside down, that is what you needed to do. And you did it, and it's done. And you cannot gain reflection until you have had some time between that happening and this.
Well, and it's funny too. First of all, I love everything you just said. I was like, oh, wish I could like keep that as a mantra in my bathroom.
I'll print it out.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
I was like, I feel like I just got a therapy session. Thank you.
From the heart, babe.
Yeah, thank you. But I was also, people don't, obviously you can't know everything about somebody from one essay, right? And so it's like, there's a background there that like, previously to this relationship, I had been in a relationship that became physical, and I don't write about that online because I'm not ready to. But when it did, that marks you for, like, it only happened one time. I left. I'm one of the lucky people that, like, at the first time I was like, this will never get better. I knew it was escalating to that point. I had called the, like, domestic violence hotline multiple. It's like I was like, I will end up a statistic. And I'm like, I left. But because of that experience, I think what people don't also understand is, like, I was reacting from a place of, like, I know what it's like to be in heightened situations with a man who is out of control. And it's not like this person that I was with had exhibited that. But in my mind, I was like, I will not have that. I will not create, a volatile situation like that again. Like, I am not going to do that. So I am going to leave. So I think there's also this, like, you're just trying, like, we're just human. We're just trying to figure out what reactions work. And my thought process in that moment was leave, don't create a scene. Like, I don't want to create a volatile scene. This could become very volatile, and it in turn could become physical. And that is nothing I ever want to experience again in my life. So it's like, I just left. And I agree with you. It's like, it's like reactions are based on past, you know what I mean? They're based on, like, what our brains are telling us is what worked in the past and what didn't. And for me, leaving is a thing that works because it de-escalates.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I work from home full time, and something that I am always on the hunt for are comfy clothes that I can wear while sitting all day in my house, but looking professional and put together. And I have found an answer, and I want to share this answer with you, which is the bamboo jogger set from Cozy Earth. Now these, you've heard me talk about Cozy Earth a million times and how comfortable their sheets and pajamas are. But when I tell you their clothing is made from the same exact material as the sheets and the pajamas, I'm being honest. It is made from the viscose from bamboo, which is what all of their products are made from. And these are the softest, most comfortable joggers and jogger top that I've ever worn in my life, honestly. They are the perfect answer to when I just need to throw something on, getting started for the workday, feeling put together while also feeling comfortable. And because they're so lightweight and breathable, I find in this transitional time of year that we're in terms of seasons, it's like the perfect balance. Like it helps you stay warm when it's a little chilly outside, but it's also really cool when it warms up as the day goes on. So the incredible thing about Cozy Earth that I always remind people is that there's two things. One, you get a 100-night trial with any product that you buy. Any product that you buy, you get 100 nights to return it if you're not happy with it. And then the second thing is any product that you get also has a 10-year warranty. So if anything goes wrong, anything happens to it, you can let them know. And there is a 10-year warranty on that product. So I would love to give you a gift, okay, for the month of May. If you go to cozyearth.com and you check out and you use code NUANCE, NUANCE at checkout, you will get 20% off your entire order, okay? Go to cozyearth.com, use code NUANCE, NUANCE for 20% off your entire order. Can't wait to hear what you think. I think as like a fellow content creator, I think we walk such a fine line in using these personal stories. Like, it's hard. And I think that's what people who are just consumers of our content, right? People who are consumers of our art. That's essentially what it is. It's a form of art. I think it is so easy for them to like pick it apart. And I've heard you a couple of times say like, oh, I've been given like a lot of perspectives. Was it helpful at all for you, like emotionally, to post it? Or is there a part of you that was like, I wish I hadn't shared it? Like, I'm just always fascinated when people are so raw and honest and vulnerable in public like that, because I think it's so, I'm asking this from a place of like deep respect of like being willing to share that with us and share it with the world. But I think what are your thoughts like on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Would I have shared it if I had known the reach it would have? Probably not.
Yeah.
No. I'll be honest. Like, it is such a fine line of like, I wrote something that I didn't think was ever going to have this kind of reach. I felt like even the thing I'm proud of is that I felt like I gave this person a lot of grace in the essay. Mm-hmm. I wasn't bashing, I wasn't going into his traumas and his life, like, because that's boring. Who wants to read that kind of stuff? It's boring. But like, instead I was just trying to look at it from the lens of what happens when you have a sneak peek into somebody's unfiltered brain, mm-hmm. and it's not always pretty. And then also, just the whole situation, I was just writing to process it myself. And I think that's what writers do and content creators do a lot of the time. And I'm proud of what I ended up writing because I don't think I hurt him on purpose. Mm-hmm. But do I think that, he knows about this, he knows it's out there now. And is he happy with that? Mm-hmm. No. Like, this is never what he would have chosen. He's a very private person. And so, we have no mutual friends really. So I like to believe no one in his inner circle knows that this article exists because we didn't date that long, and I don't know that many of his friends, and he's from another country. So, his family doesn't speak English, and there's a lot that I'm like, I think that I mitigated that. Okay. But it's a fine line because it's like, I didn't dox him, but I also put what he did on the internet for millions of people now to tell him what a POS he is or to defend him. There's both. There's definitely both. So it's not, I leave those comments up too for his benefit. If I don't think he reads them, but for his benefit too. And so, I don't know. It'll always be a mixed bag. Like, I'm glad this topic's getting talked about because I do think it's brought a lot of interesting conversations to the forefront that we need to continue to have. But yeah, I think I'll always struggle with like, what's fair, what's just fair to share about someone you've cared about and dated. But so it's mixed bag.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Have people reached out to you, Lindsay, and shared like their stories with like their partners using? Yes. Can you tell us about what some people have said?
Yeah, because there's a lot in the public comments. So there's people that have DM'd me that I don't think wanted to be public about it. But yeah, everything from figuring out that I mean, I will say it's like predominantly women that are reading their men's chat GPTs. But everything from discovering their boyfriend or husband was cheating on them via chat GPT, to considering cheating on them, to saying that they're not happy after 9 years and debating leaving, to saying that they hate the other person and like using it as more of a ranting of like how much they hate their partner. And then, yeah, so I would say it's like, I haven't heard any sweet ChatGPT story. I'll tell you that. I haven't had one sweet little anecdote about how a woman stumbled upon her husband or boyfriend or whatever partner's ChatGPT, and it was all filled with accolades. So, and I think this story probably does just invite only negative stories. But yeah, no, there's been a lot. I've been surprised at how many people are going through this. Yeah, I guess I shouldn't be.
Yeah, it is just fascinating to think about, like, technologically wise, right? Like, is this something more men are going to do? Because they're not going to, like Sam was saying, like, they're not going to journal necessarily. They're not going to talk to their friends about it always necessarily. So is this creating more opportunities for this to happen? Is this always something that, like, was kind of going on in the background and now we can just, like, see it in this physical form? It is so interesting how it's like the technology shapes us but reveals things about us at the same time.
Yeah. Well, something that I've really felt discouraged by, and I'm trying not to take, this is the problem with also seeing too many comments, is that you start seeing things and you're like, oh my God, like, is this real? Like, is this true? And I think it's just mostly manosphere men. A lot of manosphere people have been resharing my article just to like bash me as being a trope cat woman and single cat lady. Like, I've gotten all the tropes, and so I think I'm therefore getting also quite a bit of audience just from that sphere. But I will say it's like very shocking to me how many men have written. The ones that are just hateful, I'm like, whatever, I don't even pay attention to. But the ones that are like methodically writing out comments about how this is very normal that men do this and they do it, every man does this. Like, it's because you're too sensitive. Every man does this. And we just usually keep it in the background of our minds. And then we process it and we get through it. And in a few months, we probably won't feel the same. But this is very normal. Every man's hesitant. And it's like, if that's the case, that's terrifying to me, because I was like, oh my God, the stuff I read was so mean that I was like, if that's where we're at, I don't want it. Like, I'll just live with my cats.
Well, and I think that there was a question I was like mulling over in my head before you said all that, and then now it feels like even more cemented. I just kind of want to grab some of these guys, like, privately, one-on-one, in a closed room with no recording equipment, and be like, what do you think life is? Like, what are you genuinely expecting from life? Because it feels like there is so much fear around not being constantly stimulated, the fear of being bored, the fear of realizing something in their life isn't working and it is going to take another level of effort from them. Like, I am so, when I'm not furious about it, I am just so fascinated by this idea of, it feels like everything that we are talking about in terms of the manosphere and men's mental health and the men's loneliness epidemic and what are we doing about men, but it feels like so much of it is wrapped in trying to help them avoid needing to take legitimate action that will make them feel uncomfortable, but is necessary for them to enact the changes they need to change. And I'm so floored every time. It's exactly like you said, like all these men saying, we all do this. Everybody's miserable. Everybody hates their spouse. It's like, then why are we here? Nobody said you had to be married. Have some confidence and say, I'm not interested in this lifestyle. I'm going to bang my way through Miami. Like, go for it. I have more respect for the men that can be honest about the fact that they have zero interest in commitment than the ones that try to play house and then try to convince me that they're miserable in playing house. And that is now everybody else's problem because they're miserable playing house.
1000%. I completely agree. And I see it, something that like, I've milled over a lot too with this whole essay is this idea that like because I've been reading these comments, like I said, that have been very disturbing to me as a woman. But I think about my guy friends, and I'm trying to like make sure I don't name any specific case that somehow their wife could know. But I have a lot of guy friends my whole life. I have. And I have watched them, a lot of them, not all, but quite a few of them, like up until the wedding. I mean, it's like dragged down the aisle. Like they did not, it's like they didn't choose their own life, and they're shocked that they're getting married. They're shocked that now they have 2 kids and they're married. And they're like bitter that they didn't do all this other stuff they wanted to do, annoyed that they stayed with the same person for 9 years or this. And I'm just like, no one forced you to do any of this. Like, it's just bonkers. It's so interesting to me. It's like that. It's like there's, I don't know. There's just like this interesting like lack of emotional wherewithal. I just keep going back to that phrase, and I'm like, I don't get it. And I've seen that in my own friends.
Yeah, it's like the patriarchy too, right? Is I think a lot of these men don't actually want to get married and have children or be responsible at all. And maybe, you know, that's where like I think the manosphere comes in some ways. I'm not saying these people saying this or your guy friends are in the manosphere, but I think it is this how the patriarchy harms men, where they can't actually be responsible for things. There's all this pressure for them to get married, especially if we're talking about in conservative circles. Now there's even more pressure to be the provider, have lots of kids, do all of this without anyone thinking through, is this what I want? Like, is this not just what I want on paper, but do I want what this life requires? You know, it's sort of like what I think about is how everyone a lot of times wants to be an entrepreneur, and then they're like shocked and upset by like the hard parts of it. And sometimes I'm just like, yeah, everyone on paper wants to work for themselves, but do you want the life of an entrepreneur, the instability, the risk, the working sometimes twice as hard, the buck stops with you? And I think as a society, we are not, especially I think Instagram has made this worse, social media has made this worse. We are not thinking through these decisions long term. And yeah, I think as a society, that's how we end up sometimes with people who are like, well, I know I got to get married because I've been with this person long enough and there isn't anyone else for me. So that's what everyone expects. I'm going to do it.
Another thing that I've thought about too recently, and I don't know if it's too, but it's like, I also don't think men are getting the benefit out of marriage that they used to get, because we all have to work now and women are changing, and we're also realizing we're not going to work and do everything at home and take care of your children and till we're like dead. And I think therefore it's making marriage less appealing to men, because they're just not getting the same benefit, whereas marriage has always disadvantaged women. I mean, to some degree. Like, I'm not saying that it's a sweeping generalization, but you know, I think marriage has been a disadvantage for women far more than men, and now men aren't getting that same benefit of it, and that's changing how they look at it too.
I saw a video on TikTok the other day, and I wish I could remember the name of the creator, so I apologize, but he said, men need to stop saying that it's a sacrifice to go to work, because it's not a sacrifice, because you get paid. Like, you're literally getting rewarded for your labor. It is not a sacrifice to go into the job where you have a bunch of friends and you shoot the shit 50% of the day, and you know you're getting a check, and you're probably going to have a work trip coming up here where you're going to get away from everything. Like, we all need to relax that this is a sacrifice.
It's just an exchange. It's an exchange of your time and effort for money. It's a math equation.
And also the idea that, like, even without your wife and family, you would still be doing this. You would still be going to work. I saw a TikTok on that from, I can't remember the creator either. It's frustrating that I can't, but it was like such a simple point. But I was like, yeah, even if you don't get married, you're still going to go to work. Like, you have to afford yourself at the very least. So it's like, it's a sacrifice. I mean, I don't know. I find it exactly what you said. It's like, it's not the same. It's not even remotely the same.
No. And I think, a lot of people, this is a conversation that a lot of women aren't ready for, but there is a lot of women raise their own oppressors in many ways, and they reinforce a lot of these behaviors without realizing it's what they're doing. And I know that that's another broad generalization, and I'm not coming at anybody in particular, but I think we need to realize, like, someone's raising these kids. And I think what we're establishing is the dads aren't exactly, like, hugely involved in the emotional toll of this process. And I think it's fascinating to kind of look at, like, reflectively as women, like, what are the messages that we're giving to little boys? Are we openly accepting of little boys' emotions? Like, what's our internalized misogyny like when our sons are upset versus when our daughters are upset, right? And again, like, I am not trying to say that this, yet again, is all on our shoulders, but for us to at least be fair in looking at, like, the role that we're playing in continuing a lot of this. And I think, as you said, like, women staying in these relationships forever, women know when they're not wanted.
Mm-hmm.
It
is innate.
It is, you know, when the guy could care less whether you dropped dead in front of him or not. And I think for us to stand up and start being more open about not tolerating that type of behavior, because we, in our own insecurity, we just, like, chase, and we beg and we beg and we beg, right? And we've all been there. And I can't think of a single woman in my life, myself included, who hasn't been in a situation where we've been doing that. And I think it takes a lot of confidence to stand up and say, like, I'm not going to tolerate this. Mm-hmm. Like, I will not be with somebody that hates me. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that's an easy place to get to. And there's a lot of personal work that needs to be done in order to get to that space. But I think that's the necessary work right now for us as women to say, like, bro, I'm willing to be alone. Mm-hmm. I'm fine being alone. If you want to step up and match me, like, I'm more than happy to welcome you into this life. But I'm not going to be the one that's, like, forcing you to be here.
That's what it felt like in this, really, like, it's like I almost overcorrected because I was in a very chaotic relationship prior to that one, as I mentioned. Mm-hmm. And there was the love bombing, just all the love addiction stuff that I've struggled with for a long time. It's not my weak point. I love love. I love being in love. I love the magical love. Yeah. And when I got out of that, I was like, well, I can't do that again because that was too much. And so then I overcorrected over to this other side where I was with a logical, pragmatic, calm man. And I think a lot of times we give excuses for these behaviors because we're like, oh, they're men. Like, in my head, I was like, he's a man. Like, he's a real man. Like, he's very masculine seeming. And I like, I think that's going to be good for me. Like, mm-hmm. I've tried other things and that hasn't worked. Like, I just need logical because I'm emotional and he can be the rock to my wave. And instead it was just like, it's like, there's a difference between that is a lovely qualities. And he had some of those. I'm not saying that they weren't real, but in terms of, like, how we conflict those as, like, I never felt chosen. I never felt loved ever. And I don't think he did. He was not in love with me. I mean, that's just facts. Like, that's not woe is me. It's just, he wasn't in love with who I was. He didn't like my past. He didn't like what led to this point. Like, he didn't like my cats. He didn't like a lot of things.
How did you guys start dating, Lindsay? From, like, so much that he seemed like, it is fascinating to me that he did date you.
I know. It's like, I wonder about this too. Like, you're not that, it's like, I literally sometimes sit around thinking, like, I don't really even know how this all started to even end up like this. Cause it's like, we just seem so mismatched from the beginning, but, we both love the same. I love the country that he's from. So I'll leave it at that. I love the country he's from, and I've spent a lot of time in that country, and I speak his language. So, I mean, he speaks multiple languages, but I speak his first language. And I think there was an attraction. Like, so we met, I was in his country, trying to, again, not give too many, like, disclosures, but I was in his country, and he lived in Austin already. And I was considering moving to Austin, and I got on a dating app, which I had never been on before. Just fitting that this whole story happened. But I got on a dating app and I tried the dating app because I was like, I think I'm going to move here. Like, let me see what's in Austin. My family lives there. And I met him on there, and we, like, hit it off on text. And I remember like we texted like long and hard for like a month because I was still in his country, like, and he was here. And I was like, I'm sorry, I kind of misled you. I'm definitely still in this country for for another, month and a half. And so we just kind of chit-chatted and chit-chatted. And then I came and I liked what he had. I thought he was super emotionally open. I did flag, and I think this is a kind of interesting thing to point out, which plays into the whole story. I started noticing that I felt his responses were ChatGPT, but which is a whole nother dating
Go figure.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I started like flagging that because I'm a writer. I know what ChatGPT writing looks like. I see it all the time every day of my life. And I was like starting to flag like these little things like 3 adjectives and not even the hyphen thing, not even the em dash, just like these it's not this, it's that. Like, there's all these like key things. Yeah. Quietly.
I'm quietly falling in love with you.
Yeah. And well, he wasn't even like emotive about any feeling for me. It was just mostly like in response to long things, I would say. I felt like he didn't really he was ChatGPTing back like, that must have been hard for you. Something, whatever. So I flagged that then, but then I thought maybe it's because English wasn't his first language, and I was kind of like, okay,
that's fair.
But I thought like, I don't know if that's something I'm flagging because I don't want to talk to a robot. Like I don't need you, me, and the robot in our like writing. So I went to meet him. I came to Austin right after I left that country, and I came to Austin to meet him, and he ended up having to cancel because he works in politics. And he had something that happened. And so he canceled, and then I ended up going to Montenegro for 3.5 months. So I was gone, and we stayed in touch kind of throughout this whole time, but never meeting. So I think there was a lot built on this, like what I thought was an emotional connection that wasn't even physical at first, and probably he did too. Again, I still think a lot of what he wrote was ChatGPT. I don't like looking back, but I think we both maybe were writing on that being something real when we actually did meet. So I think maybe there's just a lot of expectation and maybe why it's not necessarily a good thing to be texting with somebody for months and months on end without meeting them, because I think that can like create this false narrative of camaraderie or like compatibility. Because then when we met, all the issues started like fairly quickly.
Yeah. It just seems like if he didn't like that you lived in a van and you had cats, like those are pretty fundamental things that he knew that he could have decided.
That was none of that was a mystery. All you gotta do is look at my Instagram, and I'm filled with eating disorders and vans and cats. So I mean, I'm pretty much an open book online. So it's like, I don't know. I felt similar. Like I didn't hide any of that, but I guess it became a lot more real once we actually met.
I just, as a woman who's spent a long time single and has the last 6 months like really kind of delved back into the dating world, I think as a woman in her 30s, mid-30s, it feels like it is a new conversation for us to be honest and open about our reality, especially those of us that do want the husband and the kids and to be a wife and a mother in whatever way we interpret those things, right? And I think people are so used to us already having those things by this point. Or if we don't, we're just like openly saying, I never would, I have no interest, right? And so for those of us that are in the middle of like, well, I'm proud of my life, I'm happy with my life, I like the person that I've become, I've lived a life and I'm bruised because of it, and I'm proud of those bruises, right? While also saying like, I want to share that with someone now, but I'm not just going to share it with anybody. And I think we are like the mirror for people's worst fears and insecurities. And so like saying all of that to say, I think you sharing the reality of this experience in addition to everything else that you are in your life, I just find it to be like incredibly brave. And I think we do need this story because I think it does speak to so much. And I think it is so common now. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Lindsay, thank you so much for coming on. And it is raining very loud.
It's like, yeah, I was like, I'm sorry, y'all, it is like hailing.
Oh my God.
It seriously is like hailing very loudly. So sorry.
thank you so much for coming on and, sharing and talking about all this, being so open, writing the article. If people want to hear more from you, read more about what you write, where can they find you?
Oh, on Substack now. I do still have Instagram sometimes, so I don't write on it, but on Substack at Lindsay Hall Writes. And then on Instagram at Lindsay Hall Writes if you want to follow along.
Amazing.